Alright, fight fans, you're watching Octagon Control MMA. I'm Dan. Today we're going to be talking a little bit about Greg Hardy versus Marcin Tybura. Heavyweight fight on the main card of UFC Vegas 17 coming up this weekend, headlined by Wonderboy Thompson and Jeff Neal. Alright, I'm very confused about this matchup. I've been thinking about it a lot over the last day or two. I really don't know which way this is going to go. I mean, they've both got quite good recent records. Tybura is on a 3-fight win streak. Hardy's only recent losses to Volkov, which I don't think anyone can argue with. And yeah, so we'll start off talking about Greg Hardy, move on to Tybura. I'll try and do a side-by-side, and then I'll give you my final result at the end. Okay, getting started with Greg Hardy. He is 7-2, 1 no contest. One of his losses was a disqualification for illegal knees, and his other loss, as I just said, it was against Volkov, which, if anyone watched UFC 254, he absolutely starched Walt Harris. So I don't think going to a decision loss against Volkov's anything to be ashamed of. He most recently fought Maurice Green. Main takeaway from this one for me was him missing weight. First heavyweight. Sorry, he didn't miss weight. He missed weight originally. You get 2 hours to make the weight. He came back, came in half a pound under. All good. But he originally stepped on the scales at 265.5. And if he couldn't have lost that extra half a pound, he would have been the first heavyweight in UFC history to miss weight, which is just an interesting bit of trivia for you there. Right, so for the Maurice Green fight, started off very well. Early knockdown. Managed to jump on it, which I was quite surprised by. We've not seen a great deal of his ground game before this fight. So he held him for a while, and then they sort of just got stuck in neutral positions, got stood back up, and the fight kept going. His kicks are very heavy. It honestly looks like someone's swinging a baseball bat at the other guy's legs. So I think that's definitely something to watch out for. As the round went on, man, I mean, we are still talking about round one. He was starting to look very tired, and obviously I'm assuming he had a lot of trouble with his weight cut if he couldn't make 265 on the first go. But if not, it's not a great sign. But again, as I said, he went to a decision with Volkov, so he's clearly got the tank for 3 rounds. I think it was just probably an inefficient use of his energy, perhaps jumping on and trying to look for a finish against Green at the start of the first round after the knockdown. Okay, moving on to the second round. Yeah, pretty much the same as the first round. Got the knockdown, went for the ground and pound, and a bit of a, I don't want to say controversial stoppage, because I didn't personally think it was, but Maurice Green was complaining about the stoppage. He was saying he was defending himself. I would disagree. He was moving, which is true, but that doesn't count as intelligent defence, and I wouldn't want to get hit once by Greg Hardy, and he probably took 10 to 15 in that position. So Maurice Green, very tough fighter, but then Greg Hardy's got the second round knockout, and again he carries on. He's left American Top Team recently. He's now training with Rashad Evans, I believe. Not sure exactly where. I believe Din Thomas is involved as well, but don't hold me to that. And again, I think under someone like Rashad Evans, he'll be getting a lot more focused training in American Top Team, which is a big team with a lot of high-level fighters and presumably only a certain number of coaches. So hopefully he will continue to improve, because this guy could be a future star. He's still quite young. He's only 32. So yeah, that'll wrap us up talking about Greg Hardy for a minute. Marcin Tybura, very experienced fighter, 20-6, 7 knockouts, 6 submissions. He's gone to 7 decision wins as well. He's been knocked out 4 times and he's lost 2 decisions. Now that 6 submission record I mentioned, he's not actually got a submission in the UFC, which is interesting. And mainly in the UFC, he has gone to decisions. He's got 2 knockouts early. I think they were his second and third UFC fight. So, but since then he's been a decision fighter, which is fine. But against someone like Greg Hardy, that may or may not be to his advantage. Okay, his most recent fight, he fought Ben Rothwell back on, I believe it's Fight Island, most recent one. I want to say October, middle of October. So not too long ago, quite active. This will be his fourth fight of the year. As I said a little bit earlier, he was on a 3-fight win streak. So 4 wins in a calendar year. Very impressive, especially with the pandemic that's happened this year. Ben Rothwell, for people who are new to the sport, well, newish, is one of the mainstays of the heavyweight division. He's fought everyone I could think of who you might have heard of. Cain Velasquez. He's knocked out Overeem. He's submitted Josh Barnett. I believe he's fought Frank Mir, but don't hold me to that one. And again, the big names of the heavyweight division over the last 10 years that you'd expect. This fight though, Tybura, he started off very slowly, but I think that may or may not have been part of his plan. Ben Rothwell came out very fast, very strong. He was throwing lots of big punches. Tybura, a very intelligent defence though. He was getting hit a lot, but mainly on the arms. He was catching things on his guard, wasn't causing him too many problems. And then as the first round progressed, he was throwing a lot of good counters when Rothwell was coming in with his big stuff. I think he found his range after Rothwell's initial flurry. Okay, then in the second round, it's quite clear that Rothwell was probably gassing out a little bit. He wasn't throwing anywhere near the same volume, and Tybura took the lead in the volume. Heavy jabs he's throwing, few left hooks in, just mixing it up. Very good striker. Not a lot of kicks, I noticed, which is how some people fight. But I've just watched a fight literally 15 minutes ago to recap myself on it, and I don't remember him throwing one kick. I'm probably wrong on that. I'm sure he threw a couple of kicks, but the fact I feel like I didn't see him throw a kick suggests that it probably wasn't the most efficient part of his game. But his hand striking's very good, his punching. He had a couple of decent elbows. And then in the third round, again, Ben Rothwell, if he looked gassed in the second, he looked dead on his feet in the third. And because of that, Tybura was able to get a takedown. He rained heavy ground and pound on him for at least 2.5, best part of 3 minutes. Most surprising thing here was that he didn't get the stoppage. And I don't know if he was just comfortable that he'd won the decision. He did get a 10-8 in that round on all 3 judges' scorecard. But again, you'd expect a stoppage from a position like that, especially when you're on top of a gassed fighter. But Tybura is a bit of a decision fighter. All 3 of his wins so far this year have come by decision. Alright, that brings us nicely on to how they match up against each other. Okay, so as everyone knows, I assigned 5 attributes. We have striking, grappling, fight IQ, chin and gas tank. Okay, we'll start off quickly on the striking. Got to give this one to Greg Hardy just because of his knockout power more than anything. If you're arguing technically, you give it to Tybura because he's got great counters. He fights very well going backwards, both of which will come in handy against Greg Hardy. But Greg Hardy's got the one-punch knockout power, and I think that'll probably be his best chance of winning if he is to win this fight. Okay, swiftly on, we'll go to grappling. Again, I know I said earlier that Tybura doesn't have any submissions in the UFC, despite having 6 outside of it. But Greg Hardy's ground game is questionable at best. It was a lot better than we'd seen before when he fought Maurice Green. He had decent top control, he was using his hips well, staying on top. And yeah, so you've got to give it to Tybura really. He's much better positionally. He's a black belt in jiu-jitsu as well, but I've not seen a great deal of it from the fights I've been able to watch of his. And I'd be very interested to use that against Greg Hardy, as I could see that probably being his, well, not his best chance, but definitely being a place where he'd perceive himself to have the advantage. Right, fight IQ. Again, I'm going with Tybura on this one. Greg Hardy, as I just said, big one-punch power, but not the most efficient use of his energy from the fights I've seen of him. I think he is improving on that. I think he's learning as he goes. He's still only had 10 fights. and he started off in the UFC, so he's started off at the top really. So a bit of time to catch up with everyone else isn't any harm. And I think, especially working with Rashad Evans, I think he will improve massively in the coming years. But for now, I've got to give it to Tybura. Okay, chin. Again, I've probably equal on this one. While Tybura has been stopped 4 times by knockout, that was against Derek Lewis, Augusto Sakai, and apologies now, Shamil Abdurakhimov, who is ranked number 10 at heavyweight, I believe. So he's been stopped by some of the top guys in the division. And Greg Hardy, while he is good, is not there yet. But he should still be worried about his one-punch knockout power. Greg Hardy, on the other hand, fought Volkov to a decision. Apart from that, he's never looked like he's under any massive pressure. He's taken a few big shots, but nothing significant. So, like I say, it's very hard to call this one, in my opinion. Oh, excuse me, that was a horrible noise. I do apologise. Right, moving on, last one. Gas tank. Got to be Tybura on this one, without a doubt. As I said a couple of times now, Greg Hardy's use of his energy is not the most efficient that I've ever seen. Tybura is a decision fighter, most recently at least. He's actually fought a 5-round against Fabricio Verdum, which he lost on the decision, but he did go the full 25 minutes. He's already gone 15 minutes 3 times this year. Greg Hardy's only ever been to 2 decisions, and he lost one of them. So I really have to give the gas tank on this one to Tybura. Alright, now it's time for my pick. I could see this going one of 2 ways. Greg Hardy by stoppage, which is at 11-8. Tybura by decision, which is at 21-10, so just over 2-1. I can't see Hardy lasting the 3 minutes with someone like Tybura who fights a distance, and I can't see Tybura knocking out Greg Hardy. As always, I'm more than willing to be wrong on this, but it's very hard for me to call this one. I mean, Greg Hardy's coming in at 4-5 on the odds just for the win. Tybura is coming in at evens, so it's very hard to call, but I'm going to say Tybura. Not going to put money on the stoppage over decision, just going to go Tybura for the win. I wouldn't be surprised though if Greg Hardy won at all. I think this is going to be a very close fight, but I do think if a fight goes out of the first round, then it does start to favour Tybura's style a lot more than Greg Hardy's. Alright, another rambly one there, bit indecisive, bit wishy-washy, but that's going to wrap us up for today. I'm going to put out another video later tonight, hopefully, regarding not Diego Lima, Bilal Muhammad, that got cancelled. I'm hoping to do Chaos Williams, Michelle Pereira, which again is looking like another very close fight. But we're hoping, well, I'm hoping at least, that's going to probably be fight of the night, and I wouldn't be surprised at all if it is. Right, thanks for watching, guys. You've been watching Octagon Control MMA. I've been Dan. Hope everyone has a great night, and we'll see you later.